ever get that feeling? Like when something clicks and the world's a bit wider, a bit less, normal.
Right, right.
We're diving into Jacobo Greenberg, a scientist who chased those moments. The glimpses past the everyday, his theories, still got people buzzing about him.
And the thing is, he wasn't always searching for the extraordinary. Greenberg, he was an academic, respected, firm believer in science, the whole 9 yards.
So what happened? What took him from there to, well, questioning reality itself?
It all seemed to shift with Pachita. This Mexican healer, she just threw his perspective for a loop.
Okay, and this wasn't like a regular doctor's appointment.
Not even close.
Ah.
Pachita, she didn't have medical training, not the way we think of it.
Yeah.
And her tools. Let's just say unconventional.
Unconventional how?
Her go-to. A field knife.
How?
Plain and simple.
Wait, seriously? Like for camping?
That's the one. And she'd use it for, get this, surgeries. Taking out what was sick, even replacing organs sometimes with healthy ones. No fancy operating room, no anesthesia, just Pachita. That knife and what Greenberg described as pure energy manipulation.
Wow, I can see why that would make a scientist question everything. Did he buy it right away, though, or was he trying to find, a logical explanation?
He wrestled with it, for sure. Don't forget, this is a man of method. Observe, analyze the scientific way. But what he saw, what he wrote down, it challenged all that. So he dives in, trying to bridge what he saw with Pachita and the science he knew.
That's what's so fascinating about Greenberg. He didn't shy away from the unknown, even if it meant pushing those boundaries of science. And this journey, this quest to understand Pachita, it leads him to a mind-bending theory, the lattice. So what is this lattice?
Picture a grid, an energy grid, the foundation of everything, not just what we see, touch, but consciousness too. Greenberg's idea. This lattice connects it all, tiniest particle to the biggest galaxy, every thought, every mind.
So not just things being physically connected, but on a deeper level, like energetically.
Exactly. Think of a radio. Picks up invisible waves, turns them into music, right?
Yeah.
Greenberg, he proposed our brains. They work kind of like that. Receiving, interpreting from this lattice. And that becomes our reality.
That's a really cool analogy. So it's not that our brains create reality. It's more like they decode it, like tuning into a signal.
That's the core of it. But here's where it gets really wild. Greenberg believed people with, say, heightened consciousness, maybe like Pachita, they could tap into this lattice directly, even influence it.
So they're not just listening to the radio, they're messing with the dial, maybe even broadcasting their own stuff.
You got it. More in tune with this energy field, navigating it in ways most of us, we can't even fathom. That's where Pachita's abilities and others like her might come in. They're connected to something more, something, well, universal.
Okay, so say this lattice is real, this energy grid, everything connected. Why don't we all have these, like, superpowers of consciousness? What made Pachita different?
Greenberg, he thought our perceptions, they're like filters, limiting our access to the full picture of the lattice. Imagine different lenses, some clearer than others, changing how we each experience this baseline reality.
So Pachita had a clearer lens, letting her see and work with the lattice on a deeper level than most.
Exactly. But here's the big question that hooked Greenberg. If this lattice is universal, how does it actually work scientifically? And this is where his ideas, they meet one of the most mind-blowing parts of physics. Quantum entanglement?
Quantum entanglement. Two particles could be miles apart, but they're linked, like their fates are tied together.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta admit, quantum physics, it kind of makes my brain go fuzzy. But how did Greenberg get from there to the lattice, to, like, consciousness itself?
Well, those particles, they're connected in ways we can't see,
Right.
but we can measure it.
Right.
Greenberg, he thought maybe our minds, our consciousness, it's kind of the same. All tangled up, connected through this lattice, this invisible network.
So, like, our minds are linked beyond our bodies. Some hidden network plugging us all in.
That was his idea. You ever think of someone and bam, they call, or you and a friend, same thought, same time. Greenberg, he'd say those aren't just coincidences. They're these little peeks into how we're truly connected.
Actually, now that you mention it, I've had those moments. Feels like you're tapping into something bigger. It does make you wonder if there's more to our minds, to reality, than we think.
Right, and that's where Greenberg's theories, they come in. Telepathy, collective consciousness, stuff we call paranormal.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just the lattice doing its thing, our minds all woven together.
It's like we're all tuned into the same radio station, but we're just figuring out how to hear those, like, fainter signals.
Yeah.
But this idea of being connected, of this energy field, that's been around, right? You said earlier, did Greenberg's theories, did they fit in with any of those old traditions, the wisdom stuff?
Totally. He saw the connections across cultures, like Buddhism, for example. They have this thing, interdependence. Basically, everything's linked. Nothing's truly alone. Sounds a lot like the lattice, right?
Yeah, it's like that butterfly effect thing. Butterfly flaps its wings.
Exactly.
It causes a hurricane. Right. Everything affects everything else.
Exactly. And then you look at shamans, which Greenberg studied a lot. They're all about working with unseen energies, tapping into a shared knowledge. Again, it lines up with the lattice, right? Like it's a source of the info, the energy.
It's so wild how these ancient practices, we used to call them superstition, but they might have been onto something about reality, about how it all works, and now science is catching up. Maybe?
Makes you think, doesn't it? Like, what if they figured out these truths about consciousness, about reality, centuries ago, and we're just now rediscovering them through, like, microscopes and theories?
It definitely makes you want to keep an open mind. Maybe what we think we know about the world, about ourselves, it's just the tip of the iceberg. Speaking of mysteries, though, there's a big one about Greenberg himself we can't ignore. That sudden disappearance in '94.
Yeah, the vanishing scientist. A real head-scratcher. Adds a whole other layer to his work, you know.
So we've got the scientist, right, exploring the edges of consciousness, reality, all that, then poof, gone, like something out of one of those X-Files reruns. What are the theories about what happened to him?
Well, it's a mystery, right? So you get everything from, like, the ordinary to way out there. Some folks, they think he vanished on purpose, maybe wanted to keep researching without, the science police on his
The
case.
science
You know
blow.
what I mean? But others, they think something bad happened. Like, maybe his work, it got too close to something someone didn't want out there.
Yeah.
Upset the wrong apple cart, maybe.
Like he wandered into something and it got dangerous. That's eerie. But even though he's gone, his ideas, they're still out there. What do you think is Greenberg's biggest impact? The one thing that really makes people rethink things?
For me, it's how he makes you see yourself differently. Not just watching reality go by, but actually shaping it. Like, if our consciousness is part of this lattice, our thoughts, they can change it, even just a little bit. Then it matters what we do with our minds.
Whoa, that's a powerful thought. Not just wishing for things, but realizing that what we believe, how we see things, it all has an effect, like ripples going outward.
Exactly. Greenberg, he's basically saying, what if we're way more powerful than we think? Like, if we could just wake up more, question our limits, there might be all these possibilities we haven't even dreamt up yet.
It's exciting, but kind of scary, too. If we're all linked through this lattice, then what we do, what we think, it's got this bigger impact, makes you think twice about the vibes you're putting out there.
For sure. But think of the good stuff, too. Healing, creativity, making things better. What if we could really use that connected consciousness for good?
Okay, now I'm getting chills again. So where do we even go from here? Someone's listening to us, they're hooked, they want to know more. What's a good first step?
Pay attention to what's already happening to you. Those times when you get a hunch, things line up weirdly, you feel that connection to something bigger. Those might be the lattice right there. Explore those. And of course, Greenberg's books, they're a trip, man. Dive in deep.
It's like we've got this map now, not with roads, but with what could be invitations to explore, our own minds, the universe, all of it. Jacobo Greenberg, he might be gone, but the stuff he asked, it stays with you. Like he's saying, keep searching, keep wondering, keep digging for that extra that's inside us and all around us.
Couldn't said it better myself. Maybe that's the biggest adventure there is.
And on that note, we're at the end of our deep dive for today. But remember, the exploring, it doesn't have to stop. Keep those questions coming, stay open-minded, and who knows, maybe you'll bump into some wonders of your own in this crazy interconnected web we're all part of.